A lot of people want to know how a coilover suspension rides differently from a conventional spring setup or a hydraulic suspension like in the case of this Mercedes SL. Well, today I'm here to tell you about my experiences. So if you're familiar with this car, then you know it has arguably one of the best riding suspensions of any car. It uses hydraulic fluid whose levels are individually controlled in each strut 100 times per second to keep the body of the car level. And when it works properly, it's one of the smoothest riding suspensions ever. The problem is, this suspension does require a lot of maintenance and upkeep, so I had a shop switch them over to height and dampening adjustable coilovers to keep up with its reliability. Well, I will admit that when I drove it, I didn't like it. It was way too soft and bouncy compared to the suspension that I was used to. Luckily, the ones I ordered came with dampening adjustment knobs with 32 clicks of adjustment for you to change how stiff they are. So I changed these settings and it helped, but only a little. That's when I decided to take a look at the car from underneath to see what else I could change. And I found out that the installer who did these coilovers didn't properly tighten these springs before installing, allowing them to shift and rattle on every bump. If these springs are not tightened through a process called preloading, the spring might not seat into the coilovers properly, causing your car to sag or ride a bit unpredictably, so make sure if you ever buy coilovers that these are properly tightened. This whole process of fine-tuning your adjustable suspension will take some trial and error. You'll need to find the ideal height and dampening settings to fit what you want best for your ride. With my coilovers, I opted for the softer, less stiff ones because I don't normally drive hard or aggressively. I want my car to still be comfortable for long road trips as it was intended. And in this whole fine-tuning process, I had to deal with other things that are specific to this Mercedes, such as a leaky power steering pump. So when I fixed that too, I thought I had my coilovers properly set and took this car on a road trip down the East Coast. And I ended up having to remove the rear wheel well liner in a Buc-ee's parking lot because the car was still sagging too low and still too soft. So again, it was back to being under the car to look at height and spring adjustments. And it took me until now to realize how to properly adjust the height of the coilover. You see, I was under the impression that rotating only the shock body and nothing else would adjust how high and low the car would sit. But I was wrong, and as it turns out, I believe I was unknowingly adjusting the amount of droop and bump on the suspension, which allows how much extension up or down the wheel has whenever it encounters road imperfections. What I really had to do was use the collars and shock body as a whole to change the ride height, as you can see in this video when it's sped up, how the control arm slowly moves up. So a few more times wrenching under the car, and I was finally dialing in my settings and making sure the knobs up top were rotated to my preferences. Just make sure to get a wheel alignment when you make all of these changes so that everything is riding perfectly. And after all is said and done, you should finally be able to appreciate how a coilover set should truly ride. I think the bumps are really where I noticed it the most, because that's when I would get like the bump steer. Especially if you're going around a turn, you hit a bump and the car kind of just changes its trajectory on the road, even if you're holding the steering wheel in the same spot. But for the most part, everything else, running into bumps now at high speed, doesn't scare me anymore. 70, 80 miles an hour, not afraid of bottoming out after all the adjustments I did on the coils. Really an improvement from the first rides that I had with this. From what I've felt, it doesn't lean too bad as I thought it would. And I'm usually pretty cautious and meticulous about that. But if you were to tell me, or if you were to not tell me that these were on coils now, would I immediately be able to tell? Probably not. It's maybe a little bit stiffer, maybe a little bit bouncier than the original hydraulics are, but certainly, within reason of something, the kind of comfort you can expect from daily driving, or I think even spirited driving of this car. And definitely worth the lack of worry with all the complex parts and expensive repairs that you'd get with the original system. Now I really just have to make sure that everything stays tight, stays in the position that I wanted it to. It doesn't adjust from vibrations, the collars don't get loosened. But where it sits right now and how it rides, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm pretty pleased with it. It's smooth, goes straight when I need it to go straight. It's all working out pretty well. Well, that just about does it for my experience with coilovers on this car, something I absolutely do not regret doing. Hope you guys enjoyed this small piece of content, and I'll see you in the next video.